United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is being live streamed by Chelmsford Telemedia and posted to the Chelmsford Public Schools website for interested community members to access and watch. In-person public participation will be taking place tonight in accordance with the Chelmsford School Committee Public Participation Guidelines. Anyone speaking tonight during the public input portion of the meeting has notified the superintendent's office of their desire to speak and has been provided with these guidelines. Upon request, written comments received no later than 12 p.m. on the day of this meeting will also be read and made a part of the record of the meeting during the second public comment session. I don't see any members of the press here tonight. So welcome, everybody. It's nice to see everybody again. And our first order of business is to approve our minutes from, we're looking at 3 approvals, one from our working session on the 17th, one from our regular meeting on the 17th, and a regular meeting on the 24th. And let's do them separately.
Okay. All right, we'll start off. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from our working session on October 17th.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye. And I don't know if
John,
John
were
was
you-
at, yeah.
were you
you
at
at
this
the
working
working
session?
I was at the working session.
Okay.
That's the one with Simon. And
No, it was before.
I was not at that. I can't second that.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Okay, I'll second.
Okay, and then you're going to abstain.
I'll abstain,
All right.
yeah. I thought that was a
So
different.
3 in favor, 1 abstention.
But it's a really good looking abstention.
So,
That's the beard.
I make a motion to accept the minutes from our meeting on October 17th.
Second?
yes, you can.
Second. Okay, second.
Yeah. All right, any questions, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0 in favor.
I make a motion to accept the minutes from our meeting on October 24th.
Second.
All right, any questions or discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
4-0 in favor. Thank you. Okay, next we'll hear from our Chelmsford student representatives. Hi.
Hello. So on October 28th, Lime held a drive-through trick-or-treat from 10 a.m. to 12, and this year they donated to the Paul Center and the Chelmsford Food Pantry. And the Chelmsford Theater Guild's production of Mamma Mia the Musical opens this Thursday, November 16th at 7:30. Performances will also be on Friday night, Saturday afternoon, and Saturday night. This beloved musical features songs from ABBA's discography and is played by students' orchestra live for everyone. CHS students shine on stage with a student-designed set, lights, audio, props, costumes, hair, and makeup. Tickets are also available online through onstagetickets.com. And with our pep rally coming up, on Tuesday, the 21st, in preparation of the Chelmsford versus Billerica Thanksgiving game, we are starting off our Spirit Week tomorrow. The themes are Disney, Barbenheimer, which is Barbie and Oppenheimer, Adam Sandler, Country versus Country Club, and then Pep Rally and Chelmsford Gear, and then Pajama Day. And during Spirit Week, there will be multiple fun activities for students, such as Chelmsford-based trivia, which takes place during our Pride Block, kickball, and listening lunches, where students can showcase their talents, such as comedy, singing, or dancing during this open mic event, which takes place during lunch.
Thank you.
The Interact Club is sponsoring a winter wear drive to coincide with Spirit Week, and they're looking for donations of new or gently used hats, mittens, scarves, warm socks, or other winter wear. All donations will receive Spirit points, and there will be boxes located in the main lobby from November 13th to the 21st. All items will be donated to the Lowell Transitional Living Center. And there will be a mandatory meeting for all athletes looking to play a winter sport on Wednesday, November 15th at 2 p.m. in the gym. All athletes must attend this meeting, and they'll be going over athletic policies and team-specific topics. And the coaches will be at the meeting and will then meet with all registered athletes after to give sport-specific information. And Project 300 is coming back to CHS this year, and there's some major changes. Donations can be made until the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. A cart will be coming around to each Plus block to collect donations, and donations will be based on a point system this year and will be based on the necessities of Merrimack Valley Food Bank.
Is that similar to McCarthy Project 300?
I think so. Yeah.
Yes, okay. All right, thank you very much. And good news?
Just one bit of good news. Last week, we had a great full professional development day. We had a very inspirational guest speaker, Michael Bonner, who talked a lot about making genuine relationships with your students, with each other, in order to really make learning meaningful. And the teachers just had from there some other great sessions that I had heard about. If you had a chance, you can take a look at last week's newsletter. It has more information and some pictures from that event. And then just as a reminder, tomorrow is a half day for our for our middle school and elementary school students only. You're going to school full day, high school kids. And that's for parent and family conferences.
I think she called you out.
All high school students to report to
Gotta check
school.
attendance at these.
Great, thank you very much. We do not have any people
don't.
registered for public comments tonight, so we'll move on to new business.
Sure. Yep. First thing under new business, we're actually going to start our spotlight on the schools tonight by welcoming our two middle school principals, Jeff Parks and Josh Blagg, if you want to come on up to the table. As you know, just for the viewing audience, every year, and what we're going to do this year is the first meeting of each month, we're going to highlight one of our schools in the district, talk a little bit about what's happening, what new and exciting stuff is happening at the schools. But we decided this year, because so much work had gone into the realignment over the last year and a half of the two middle schools, to have Parker be a grade 5-6 for the whole town, and then McCarthy be a whole grade 7-8. We would invite Josh and Jeff at the same time to present about some of the work that took place, how the opening of the school year has been going. This was a big shift for us in the district to really, we had a lot of staff that were moving places, even for the students, there was a lot of shifting. So it'll be good to hear from the two of them as to how the first part of the year has gone. So without further ado, and without stealing too much of your thunder, I'll turn it over to Jeff and Josh, and welcome you guys here tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
So we have a couple of different agenda items we're gonna go through. We're gonna kind of tag team a little bit back and forth. We've been chatting a little bit about the things we wanted to highlight tonight. Really, the way we've been looking at it is a little bit of essentially kind of opening two new schools. And when we were talking, it's really been a massive lift for the staff, for students, for, you know, everybody here who's really kind of taken a driving role in helping the two schools kind of move. So we're just both excited to be a part of it. We've known each other for a long time. We both have the official class of '91 haircut, as you can see. So we've been friends for a long time, and it's really pretty cool to be able to work closely together on such a big deal. So it's something that we've been appreciating too.
Yeah, it's a great reorganization. It feels like a new school, you know. It's brand new to me, obviously, coming from the high school, but working with Jeff has been wonderful, and there's a lot of excitement in both buildings, so it's been fun.
Great. If you both want to actually just pull the mic, you each should have your own. You can pull right in front of you.
All right.
And that'll just help the folks at home here.
Sure, thank you.
All right, so there are some common threads with our reopening of Parker and McCarthy. They are kind of reimagined. One of the things that we're sharing is service learning opportunities and really kind of instilling proactive compassion in our students. Believe it or not, middle school students can be somewhat self-absorbed, what they want, what they need, and it's just a wonderful way to kind of instill that in them. And there's been a variety of different activities already this year, and we plan on doing that on a monthly basis. So that's something that we share. One of the things that has been really, really stressed, not only within teams of students, but in teams of teachers, is building a community and building teams. And that's, you know, easier said than done when you have, you know, disparate faculties who have been entrenched in different schools for a number of years and you know, kind of being put in out of their comfort zone. And it's just been, I think there was some anxiety going in, but, you know, I think we've both been activities purposefully in staff meetings, on team with students to try to really develop and give people the opportunity to get to know each other. Social emotional learning, or that secondary curriculum that's so vital. We're seeing the needs of our kids have risen, and being able to kind of deal with that and have the tools to deal with some of the issues that arise. This second step program's been outstanding right now, for instance, I can talk about it later, but we're working on a daily basis at Parker. We have it on Wednesdays throughout the day in lieu of the performing arts block, and I think on Mondays for McCarthy.
That's right.
Yeah, so Jeff can talk about a few more common threads.
Another thing we've been able to do is maintain one PTO through all 4 years. And the group we have right now is exceptional. We've had so many, people helping. We met last night, as a matter of fact. But to be able to have parents and families be involved over a 4-year span as opposed to just kind of 2 years and then moving on for 2, we're hopeful that in the long run, we'll be able to capture a better audience and have more people be involved, where it's kind of seen as one middle school PTO, but we just happen to be working in 2 different buildings. So that's how we've really been approaching it this year. And again, it's been such a great group, and we're excited to keep on moving forward. The after-school clubs and activities is something that's still common to both middle schools. And one of the things that I was a little bit nervous about is how were those going to translate to the older students? Because largely it was the younger kids, 5th and 6th grade, who tended to participate more. But we've been very pleased. The kids are involved. There's a variety of different clubs, a bunch of clubs that we didn't have at Parker that are very, very popular over at McCarthy. And it's been eye-opening, I guess, to say how many 7th and 8th graders want to stay after school and participate in clubs, not just intramurals, but they're doing all sorts of different game clubs, art clubs, you name it. They're really involved, and that's been pretty neat. And I know that's happening at both both schools. And then also, as Dr. Hirsch mentioned, tomorrow we have another day of our parent-teacher conferences, which is only the 2nd year that we've done that. It's a new feature in the teacher contract. And we're excited to be able to welcome families in. They've been booking appointments. We use this particular software that is incredibly user-friendly, and they'll be coming in either in person, virtual, phone call, but we just really opened up the opportunity for families to take advantage of some FaceTime with the teachers, as we just wrapped up term 1 just a little bit over a week ago. So those are some of the common threads that you'll continue to see at both schools moving forward. Now, Principal Blagg's going to talk a little bit about Parker more specifically.
Sure. So I'll start us off, and then I'll hand it over to Jeff to talk about McCarthy. But it's more than 2 months, really. I mean, we started, mid-August, and it's almost Thanksgiving. So we feel like we just finished the first term. It's been a lot of fun. There's pictures of our staff on the first day. We got staff T-shirts. Both schools got staff T-shirts, and started off strong and kind of kept the ball rolling. So one of the visions that we've set forth at Parker, I wanted to have some kind of like motto to kind of drive what we were doing and setting up these new teams. So it's dream big, work hard, and make it happen. And the idea is, we want to develop independent learners. We want to develop empathetic learners. And we really want them to have a sense of community and a sense of who they are, where they are, a sense of place, and hopefully an appreciation for what they've already received through Chelmsford, because it gives a ton. There's so many opportunities. And so that's been great, and the teams kind of echo that motto. So there's 4 5th grade teams and 4 6th grade teams of 4 teachers, and they're all comprised of roughly, there's a few variations, but it's 2 former Parker teachers and 2 former McCarthy teachers that are merged onto a 4-person team. The 5th grade teams were named after kind of on that visionary, dream big kind of motto. They're named the Explorers, the Voyagers, the Navigators, and the Innovators. And then the 6th grade teams, it's more like the practical application of that. So it's, what are they? They're the architects, as you can see, the inventors, the engineers, and the entrepreneurs. So just like taking those dreams and making it a reality. And one of the things that we're really trying to push at Parker is that it's great to want something, but you also have to commit to it and work hard and see that connection between hard work and how that, the fruits of that labor can really pay off. Sometimes it's hard. We've seen that, through the years, especially through the pandemic, it was easy to give up. Oh, I don't get it. And we're really trying to fight against that and really instill grit and perseverance and have the kids see, I worked really hard there and it paid off, right? So that's really what we're trying to do as our motto, and so far so good. So the first few months of Parker, we talked a little bit at the beginning about service projects. We've had one per month. We did Change for Change, it's literally collecting change out of your pockets, out of your cars, whatever. But we raised over $3,000 for the Jimmy Fund, in just 1 week through the school, which was wonderful. We did costumes for a cause that also benefited a former dean at Chelmsford High School, Bobby Lyons, his son, was stricken with cancer, and we're helping him out through that, through our costumes with a cause. And we just finished for Veterans Day. Nearly every kid were making Veterans Day cards and sent them over to the senior center and a few other places. So we want to build in not just raising money, but more service acts as well, so they can actively be involved. I know we're going to be working to try to bring in more organizations, more opportunities for the kids to literally get their hands in there and help, not just collect money and ask their parents for more money. You're right. So we want to see, I want the kids to understand how much you get out of giving and through service. So that's super important to both of us, I know. Our PBIS program, our positive behavioral program, is continuing. That I know Jeff was instrumental and really was wonderful. It's a great program. I did not mess with it a few changes, but it's really intact, which you'll be happy to know, because I know it's such a big part of what Jeff does, the Pride program and the pause tickets, and really catching kids doing the right thing and rewarding them for it. One of the things that we added this year is the Pride Awards, which is basically the first, we're doing it quarterly, so the first term just ended. Kids are going to get certificates who have gone above and beyond, and they get a short little description of what they did to deserve that, and what, aspect of our acronym was really represented in their actions. And they'll be celebrated on the widescreen during lunch and get called down to be celebrated, that kind of thing. So that's all good stuff, and catching kids doing the right thing is wonderful, and hopefully it's contagious, right? As I mentioned earlier, we also been busy with our social emotional learning on Wednesdays. This month, our 5th grade's tackling emotion management and how to manage your emotions, and the 6th grades are bullying awareness and how to fight against bullying and that kind of thing. So those are two of this unit, social emotional learning. So I'm happy to say that it's being implemented with fidelity across the board. Every single classroom is doing it on Wednesdays, and I think it's going very well. So we're happy with that. As Jeff said, the after-school clubs are outstanding. I mean, we had one today. Obviously Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. The place is packed. You name it. They're making jewelry. They're staying after for drama club. They're already starting to rehearse for Annie, which will be in a few months. You name it, intramurals, there's a running club, there's a fitness club, there's an art club. I can't even mention them all, but there's, I would say, over 300 kids staying after school, on a given day. So there's a lot of kids there, yeah. Few other community building things. We had a wonderful fundraiser through our PTO, as Jeff mentioned, and we earned, because we were able to raise a lot of money for our enrichment programs through the school, a Day of Awesomeness, which some of you may have driven by, either McCarthy or Perkins, saw the inflatable obstacle courses and such like that. But what a great day, the kids, just to see them enjoying it and just loving being kids, running around, having fun. And it's a great way to just watch the kids having fun and enjoying each other and getting to know each other. Because one of the things that was new was kids didn't know each other. They knew their kids from their neighborhood school if they went to buy them, but they didn't know a lot of the other kids. So it's been a big transition, right? Usually they wouldn't have to make that transition till even high school. They didn't know half the kids by middle school. So, but now, I think that some of these activities really help the kids get to know each other quickly. On the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, we're doing grade-based bingo games, and if you win, you get gift certificates to our school store to buy school supplies and stuff like that. And then we are celebrating our fine arts in December. We're walking down to the Performing Arts Center during the first block or two of school, and then we're going to have a performance of all 3 of our ensembles for about an hour and a half during the school day, like an in-school field trip. So we're excited to celebrate all the great stuff that's going on with our music and fine arts programs. And we will be having grade level social events. I won't say dances, but more like social events to have some fun, run around, have some fun later on in the year. And then one of our major initiatives through our MTSS, and obviously district-wide, is our diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I think it's off to a great start. We had a wonderful visit from an organization called the Bionic Project. And I know they're due to visit McCarthy soon. Nico Calabria is a professional amputee soccer player, and he's part of this new organization. And they're all about inclusion, breaking down barriers for people with so-called disabilities. And his challenge to every kid, whether they were, whether they're disabled or not, or they have their different challenges, was what can you do to make Parker more inclusive so everyone feels involved? And that's something that's universal that everyone can get behind, right? But if you ever get a chance to see his story, when he was 12, he literally climbed Mount Kilimanjaro with his dad with one leg and raised like enough money to buy 700 wheelchairs for people in that country. So he's an amazing guy. And that day they came back for the 6th grade. They played soccer with our kids in PE classes, and they passed out adaptive equipment. The kids were trying to play on crutches, and they realized how hard it is and how good these guys were. So it was great for them to get that appreciation for what some people have to overcome. And so that was wonderful. Our MTSS committee is doing great things. We're working on building community. That's one big committee. Another is working on DEI initiatives and making sure that we're focusing on reaching out to families, cultural awareness. We just had a big professional development on the full day on identifying microaggressions that you may hear on the bus, in the classroom, in the halls, in the community, and what teachers can do to help identify it in the moment to make everyone feel safe and included, and help educate kids who may be using things that come out of ignorance, or they don't really know the power of the words that they're using, right? So our next step will be to push that into the classrooms so that we can help educate the kids. But first, we had to have the great conversation with the teachers. So a lot of great stuff going on. I haven't even mentioned some of the academics, but we actually learn a lot in school. They are working. One of the best, I think, benefits of this reorganization is we have all of the 6th grade and 5th grade teachers, the core teachers, in the same building, and they have common planning time. And that's like gold. They did not have that. And so they're able to meet, discuss, recent assessments. They have a new math program called Reveal that they're rolling out. So they're obviously, whenever you have a new math program, there's going to be some bumps. I didn't like this lesson. What about this number on this test? You name it. They're able to troubleshoot and, make edits and say, all right, this is what we're going to do next. So those conversations are huge, and the proximity and the time to do it is like gold because it wasn't possible before. So that might be the biggest benefit to all this and to all our kids, is that we're going to have common approaches and common language and common, obviously, units. So that's really, really important, so every kid has a similar experience. So as you can tell, I've been talking for a while, but I'm very excited, and I think things are going really well, and I'm really, really proud of our staff and students. You're on, Jeff.
All right, good.
All right.
Here's just a couple of your kids.
Oh, yeah, these are some pictures, sorry. Veterans Day, this is our student council reps. We revitalized student council, and they had to make campaign speeches to their homerooms and get elected to be the student representative of the student council. So they're going to help kind of organize a lot of activities, and then anyone who wants to join in on some of those activities are welcome to do it. So you don't have to be elected to be part of student council, but the leaders had to be elected, which took a lot of courage to speak up and write a speech in front of your peers. So just some pictures. That one on the right is from the first day of school. Just different teams. Just day in the life at Parker. It's a good time. And off to McCarthy.
So we have I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the building updates that we've had. And I'm not sure.
I don't know, it's on mine, I can see it.
Talk a little bit about some of the building updates that we have. I chose to use this picture because of all of the updates. It's actually the only one that I had something to do with from the beginning, from inception to completion. Whereas the other ones I got to kind of jump in later on. I know a lot of folks in here had a ton to do with it. But this is Amelia, Addie, and Isla, who I reached out to them over the summer. I knew they were talented artists, and what I wanted to do was revitalize that Four Corners office at McCarthy, which is like the hub of the school. And it kind of got caught up in being a bit of a storage facility, so we revamped that, and it's something that me, Ms. Calabrese, Ashley Rokas, our supervisor of students, will use throughout the course of the day, and we kind of set up shop as a little bit of a satellite office. So this was one of the, probably the least expensive improvement, but it really, we got a lot of bang for our buck with this one, and I'm pretty proud of it, especially of the artist that came up with it and did it.
Yeah.
Some of the building updates, and I hope you've had the opportunity to come over and see the science labs at this point. They look fantastic, which is obviously supporting all the things that the teachers and students are doing in those science classrooms. On the right is our new fitness facility that Katie Sims had kind of the vision of, and again, obviously supported by this group. But the students are having a wonderful experience in there, and one of our phys ed teachers, Pat Graham, is passionate about health and fitness, and he knows it to a T, and he trains himself quite often. And he's been doing a good job of not only having that be a place where kids get to go and have fun and work out, but they're really learning a lot as part of the curriculum and as part of one of our new after-school clubs and activities. So just wanted to give kind of a quick peek at some of the building upgrades that have happened. And if you haven't, again, been able to come see these, then please do, let me know, and I'd be happy to take you on a tour of some of the new facilities. It just came out fantastic, so proud of it. So our primary focus coming out of the gate was we wanted to immediately eliminate and just really get away from Parker teachers, McCarthy teachers, Parker students, McCarthy students. So our mantra has been, we are one school, and that's what we put on our t-shirts, and it's something that we just continue to talk about with the staff and the kids. And we did find, and I know that Josh had mentioned that a lot of the kids were, these opportunities within the school for them to meet each other and to get together and things like that. We have been finding, and I don't know if it's because they're just a little bit older, but a lot of them are in the same sports teams, they travel together. There has been some commonality, so we've seen some of it. A lot of kids obviously meeting new friends from all over town, but we did notice that there were some students who you could walk into the cafeteria and even from day one, not know what school that student was at the year before. So that's actually been pretty neat, how they're gelling together. For our teaming structure, we did something similar, but just, I guess, a little on a larger scale. And I'll talk a little bit about our schedule in the next part. What we ended up doing was taking 4 teachers from each school, a math, science, ELA, and social studies teacher, and we put them together for a team of 8, added in a Spanish teacher, and then some of our special ed service providers. So each team has a unique schedule, and the students cycle through 5 classes a day, but each team has a unique schedule. So the students who, regardless of what team they're on, every team, all 4 teams have a mix of students and staff that were part of either school last year. So it was about 200 students, just a little bit less than 200 students per team. And it's just a mix, half staff, half students, depending on what neighborhood or what school they went to last year. So we really mixed them up right out of the gate. And I think that's going to serve us well moving down the road for sure. And then our schedule, we took an approach to it this year, and it literally was, quite honestly, almost a year in the making of just kind of trial and error, brainstorming ideas, getting feedback from folks. It's a little bit of a mix where we maintained some of the old structure from the schedule that we had prior at both schools, but also we added in the Spanish class or lit support, or for some students, it might be a special education support class as their 5th core in the rotation. And what that does for us is allows us to have much more favorable class sizes. So we have, because essentially when you think about it, we have 5 places to have all the kids go out of 200 instead of just 4 places for them to go. So it's a lot more favorable for our class sizes, which is something that we wanted to be able to do. We also have all of our classes, except for lunch, the same number of minutes per day. So that has been helpful for us as well to maintain a rotation, that we can have staff, some paraprofessionals, for example, that might be able to work between a couple of different teams, things like that, that we've been able to get creative with, and it's been helpful for us. So One of the features of this, in addition to the lower class sizes to support their academic development, is this elective block. And it's a little bit of kind of a snapshot into the high school type of schedule, where the students get some choice in what it is that they're going to do. So this particular block, each team has their own elective block. We call it elective, it could be enrichment or academic support. We didn't really come up with a catchy title for it, but we have time. So within that block, on Monday, all students go back to their classroom for an SEL type block. We've been using that for some other things, but it's intended for second step. And that's what we'll be using it for moving forward. Then the other 4 days are a combination of electives where students could choose chorus, band, orchestra, or within there, there's a health elective, PE, art, Project Lead the Way, computer, reading, you name it. There's a whole host of electives that the students will be able to pick. Coming out of the gate for semester one, because they each run for half a year, we ended up, because it was over the summer, we ended up assigning students to those and just kind of put them out there evenly. We knew the kids who wanted to be in one of the ensembles, but we placed the other students. But moving ahead to January and for the remainder of the year, we'll be having the students, we'll have the opportunity to choose which elective that they want to be in. And we're basically going to have them kind of rank order what it is that they want, and then we'll work hard to get them in to a couple of their top choices. The music ones will stay, but the others will have a little bit of flexibility. And what this did for us is we have one block per day that's dedicated to specialists. So it's a half year of health and phys ed, a term of art, and a term of Project Lead the Way. Historically, we would have students who needed some additional support, would have to miss some of those classes or maybe go to it on a part-time basis, so to speak. But now, by having that elective and enrichment or intervention block, the students can get support there. And all of our kids, with very, very few exceptions, I probably count them on one hand, are able to access a full complement of specialists, which we're very excited about. So as we're living it, it's not without some bumps along the way. We've been getting feedback from folks after the second semester or second term ends. We'll put out something to our staff as well to enlist their feedback as we start to make decisions for what this will look like next year. But overall, with the structure, I'm very pleased with it and the direction that it's going. And then student leadership has been and will continue to be something that I'm passionate about. I think it's a huge part of our responsibility. Things like public speaking, giving back and kind of helping students learn their place. Here's a peek at some of the kids. This was from the open house event where they came and helped, usher parents around. They were the ambassadors of the night and help parents get to where they needed to go. But today, this group spent, and some others who aren't in this picture, but spent the majority of the day at the Salvation Army in Lowell, moving thousands of cans, helping to organize, unloading trucks, all of the things that I've been hearing about when it comes to this massive Project 300, but today I got to bring some kids over there and experience it firsthand, so it was really pretty neat, and they're gonna be tired tomorrow, I'll tell you that, because they were hustling for sure, so overall, it's been great. I'm excited to be working with Josh, and we're happy to take a stab at any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions?
Just a comment. Again, my daughter's out of the Parker now, but I can speak to my experience as a parent, and I want to say that so far, for my family, the change has actually been pretty good. So I think her biggest thing was getting lost, and then I went into school with her, and I was like, there's literally signs. There's like signs that point to places. So I think the school facilities are better for the age of the children. I think the new upgrades in the science and in the gym are going to be great. I love the lion that was painted and that you were involved with it.
Cool, yeah, thank you.
Did you get to paint, or did you just get to observe?
I observed, stayed out of the way, and brought lunch occasionally.
All right.
That was my role.
That'll be reflected on your upcoming review. So no, just thank you both for taking care of the schools and then coming in and really treating it with the seriousness that it provides. And I'm glad it gives efficiencies and all those things, but better outcomes for kids is always what we're looking for. So that's it.
Couple of comments. First, I get to observe the two of you with parents at the PTO meeting I've been delegated to do that by the school committee, and it's been really a joy to see. And you do have incredible group of parents who are very supportive. And I urge them, please, to continue being involved because it just brings so much. I think we all realize that, how much it really does bring to the community. The second thing I want to really commend you on is developing the leadership in the students. I think that that goes such a huge way because it's all about citizenship. It is. It's about, you got to learn with opportunities come responsibilities, and service and so on is a way to do that. And if what's going on here from what you've described is going exactly down that route, and that's absolutely wonderful. The other thing is that I'm really, really glad to see all this scheduling coming together, and I know that there have been some hiccups, that we've heard a couple of comments in and out, and hopefully, I'm sure you're working on it to try to make sure that it's as smooth as possible. But I think it will help students along the way and allow for more learning in many ways, not only academically, but also socially, emotionally, and in every aspect. And finally, one other thing, I am so happy to see the clubs and activities at the level that they're at. And I think that traditionally PTOs probably have not supported a lot in terms of the clubs and activities, but maybe this is something to bring to their attention because 300 students, you said, at Parker, right, Josh? And Jeff said, is it a pretty high level at McCarthy?
It's high, it depends on the day, but I would say at least half that, if not closer to 200.
That's
I would say.
terrific
Yeah.
for their age group. That's absolutely terrific. And that, I think, it just for this age group is key and so important. So thank you. Thank you for all that work.
Thank you.
Dennis?
You said, going back to facilities, are the science labs fully functional now? I think when we toured them, the plumbing still hadn't been hooked up and all
There's
that.
a little bit of carpentry work that is being finished. I think the plumbing is just about tightened up, yeah, just a little bit. of work to do.
It's in wrap-up mode at this point. We are still finalizing a couple of rooms that have plumbing still outstanding. And then behind the plumbing, obviously, the walls had to be braced and then have some new drywall put on. So we're all in the final touches right now.
And still in the same vein, cafeteria, where's that at and how's it been working without having a fully functioning cafeteria?
They've been doing an exceptional job. The kitchen staff, they're shuffling back and forth between the high school. They've done a great job. We basically set up a bunch of tables in front of, the kitchen where they would normally serve to at least get the kids used to that part of it. It's been efficient. The kitchen looks beautiful. The equipment looks great. The floor is awesome. I know that there's gonna be some training that has to be done with the staff in there before we can open it, but I'm hopeful that within, I think, we'll be earmarking like early December in order to be able to have it up and running. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
looks great.
also in the very final stages. There's just a couple of small final kind of sign-offs that they need to get the CAF staff trained, and I would think likely by that first week in December or so, hopefully they should be working.
And they've been, too, Dennis, they've been, the folks who are doing the work in there, just in interacting with them, the meetings that I've participated in, even some of them, seeing them outside, like they'll, just chatting with them while they're working and things like that. It's just been really easy to have around, and that's something that obviously as principal, I think a lot about, who else is gonna be here, but they've just been very easy to work with, so I appreciate that part, too.
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the upgrades that Parker got to. I did not include that, but portable classrooms got brand-new flooring and got completely repainted, as well as the band room and the fitness room, so it looks like a brand-new wing. It really is, it's beautiful, so I think there's one or two classrooms that need to be finished up painting, but other than that, it's like, the floor itself, it was like night and day, so it was wonderful.
Thank you. I just had a couple quick questions. How's arrival and dismissal going with all the buses?
For us, the last few days of arrival for the parent drop-off has been quite a lot of volume. We talked about this at our meeting last night, and I do attribute it to it's getting colder, and every other vehicle was jam-packed with cans. So I do think that made a big difference. And then the cars leaving, The folks who want to take a left into Drum Hill hold up the traffic for everyone else, so I do think it's something that we just want to continue to keep an eye on.
Can we make that a right turn only and then have to take a left on the Drum Hill?
Oh, up on Parkhurst?
Yeah, take Parkhurst over,
I don't know.
like at least during the school day, maybe. I don't know. You tell us if you want that, we'll do that.
Okay.
All right, we'll work that out. We'll talk to you.
I think, I mean, there's a couple different thoughts on it. We certainly could have the police work with us on like a traffic study to kind of figure it out.
Yeah.
There is longer term, like one of the projects we talked with DPW about was possibly opening up, expanding the driveway in front of McCarthy to add some parking. And if we did that, actually cutting into a little bit of that island out front, because it's large, to make like two dedicated lanes. One is a left only and one is a right only.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Half the problem is though, honestly, getting people in the rhythm, because cars are in the wrong line and there's not a lot of room to be able to switch over. So I know that was a little bit of an issue like early on, until they get used to it. But
As I was gonna say, as a general driver in town, I can tell you that some residents don't know which lane to get in, that is true. They definitely do not get in the right lanes, so I agree with that.
it just happens. But then again, it's so tight right now, you don't have room. If you're in the wrong lane,
You're screwed,
you know,
yeah.
you're kind of hurting everyone. So, yeah, that has been tough. It is something we're looking at. I do think your Project 300 drop-off is hurting you a little bit right now.
It is, yeah, it did,
But
yeah, for
hopefully
sure.
that'll be done soon.
Yeah.
Jump in, please, for me, but I know like the mornings are actually going pretty well at both schools as far as the drop-offs.
Yeah.
And the afternoon's getting better, but we're still working through that.
Yeah, there's one or two buses that are, you know, historically late, but it has gotten much better.
Yeah, I think it was an adjustment with 29 buses or whatever coming in and double parking. It was a little difficult and anxiety producing for some of our young fifth graders the first couple weeks, but now they know where, even if they're not in the exact same place, they got it down. So they're feeling a lot more confident, which is good. And the morning drop off, we actually created 2 lanes on the drop off, and that seems to have stopped the backup onto Cold Spring and towards the high school and stuff. So that it's much smoother for drop off. So that's good. So overall, good. You know,
Right, late buses are running?
they're
That's
running.
going
Some of
okay?
them are a little bit later than others, but
Yeah,
Still
we're
working on
hoping to
that,
see
too.
some relief there too, but.
Okay.
But they're up and running,
All right.
yeah.
They don't call them late buses for nothing.
Right.
Do we have any projects coming up that include paving at any one of the schools?
that's a good
Yeah.
question. Thank you.
Like,
Paving
for
of-
example, the parking lot at Parker is a question.
I don't think I haven't
It's
seen that
not
on a list
slated-
at all.
Slated for this?
No. I can certainly tell you it's not on this year's capital, because I've been looking at that most closely.
Mm-hmm.
I can look in the outlier years and see if there was anything on that front. We did pave the front of Parker.
Right.
Right after we did the high school parking lot, probably 3 or 4 years ago. It was right during COVID.
Yep.
But the back parking lot of
No, huh?
Parker has not been done, no.
Yeah, well, there's been a couple of people who said that, you know, it's kind of getting to the point where it really needs it. And so there's our answer. It's not slated yet, but it's gonna have to get on the list.
Definitely not for next year, but I'm happy to look for you and see if it's on one of the outlier years,
Yeah.
and maybe I just haven't looked at
The
it.
PTO was looking
survives
into,
it.
yeah, the PTO was looking at some cool products
Okay.
to put down on the asphalt, but they didn't want to do it if it was going to be ripped up and replaced. You know?
Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah,
I'll find out for you.
that's super. You're very creative.
Yes, they are. Tremendous PTO, for sure.
I also, I just wanted to ask, so, you know, when we were talking about this realignment, this has been in the works for well over a year prior to it actually happening. And so, you know, you don't know what you don't know. And I was wondering if there's anything that you can think of that you need from us going forward. I know we're addressing the schedule issue. One thought I had for you maybe, Mr. Blagg, is that kids coming from the 4th grade to the 5th grade, I don't think they understand the schedule, especially students who are on IEPs, and how their classes may be impacted. So maybe to do, I don't know, some type of transition meeting for parents of students on IEPs so that they are aware of what's happening prior to arriving. That might be just one thought, I don't know, some type of, I don't know, opportunity to be able to, you know, more clearly understand in terms of the schedules what may be happening for their children when they move to the middle school.
Yeah, having gone through it for the first time this year, I would agree with you that we could do better in terms of anticipating, I'll anticipate questions now
Exactly,
and
sure.
speed bumps because I've been through it. But
Right, we had
I would like,
met-
yeah,
we
we
had
didn't
been
know,
through
right?
Yeah,
Right,
right,
you gotta
like you
live it
said,
a
you
little
don't
bit.
know,
Sure.
you don't know. But, is there anything else that you can think of, like, things that we've learned? Now we're into it, right? Is there anything that you can think of, now that this realignment has happened, that you're saying, geez, I wish we had thought to do this? And is there anything that we can support you in moving forward to make sure that that happens? And if there is, and right now you can't think of anything, please let us know.
Yeah.
Because.
We will, well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me think on that.
That's important. We want to make sure that you have all the resources and things that you need, to continue this, moving forward.
I will say that.
Thank you.
I was very worried about all the movement of furniture and all that stuff. There's a lot of balls in the air, and I couldn't believe how efficient it was done. I think it really surprised a lot of the cynical, staff members. Like, there's no way they're going to be able to do this in time, and it was done, and it was done. I mean, it was smooth. So I think that was like a real eye opener. I was like, thank goodness.
Right, and I think sometimes when it really comes right down to it, our staff just rolls up their sleeves and pitches in, does the work.
They certainly
and
do.
it gets done.
100%.
Certainly do.
So, but, like I said, as we're going forward, it's their first year, and you may say, oh, we didn't think of that or whatever, but if there's anything, please let us know.
Thank you.
Yeah, we will, for sure. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions?
No, but just sitting here thinking, when the two of you have experience in our district, really at two levels, high school, which you bring to the picture, you've done some things at the high school too, and now the two levels of the middle school.
Yeah.
And I think that having that background puts you in a position where you can say, okay, maybe we need this when we transition to this level, or we need that when we transition. Like yesterday, I think parents were talking about the pathways and making students more aware of it and all that. And that's great. It's only going to make the system better and better for the kids so that they understand what's coming next, and make transitions better. And I think that that's the kind of thing that
Yeah.
will continuously improve.
Whatever you can think of.
So,
Thank you.
all great.
Yeah, thank you very much for all of your hard work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
No,
you.
Thank you, too. And quickly, too, I know because we sometimes gloss over this, but it did take us a year and a half to get to the point where we actually did this realignment, and then everyone did come together this summer to really make it the very best it possibly could. Our facility staff did an outstanding job.
Oh, yes,
Brian
absolutely.
Curley, all of our custodians in the buildings, particularly the ones that service the middle schools, went above and beyond. There was a lot of coordination that did take place, and I think overall it did go very well. But it was a lot of man hours, and I just want to recognize that. Thank you for your work in doing this. And I do know if this first year is going to be a learning experience for everyone. There's obviously, we have budgeting implications, we have budget coming up, different capital projects and things like that. So there's always room to talk about what we can keep doing to improve. But I think we're actually in a very good place, and I'm just happy we actually came this far so quickly. So Josh and Jeff, thank you very much for
Thank you.
coming tonight and sharing the first couple of months at both your schools.
I just want to know,
Great,
who
thanks for
gets
having us.
Ozzy?
Oh.
It's been tough for him, but yeah.
Try another one, yeah, we get.
I know, right? I know. Yeah.
We are fortunate, as I said, we're very fortunate to still have dedicated SROs in our buildings. Becky Tyro services as well at the high school. And then Officer Rossi and Dan stayed at Parker, because that was their home base. And Ashley Rokas over at McCarthy. It's, there's not a lot of school districts our size that can say they have 3 dedicated SROs with the full support of the police department behind them.
Right, I think that's
So that's a
really
huge
important.
thing for us.
That's really, I'm glad that you said that, because that's really important.
Yeah.
Because they are employees of the police department, not the school department.
Correct.
And it is through their support that we are fortunate enough to have them. So
Correct.
That's really terrific. In other districts, it's funded through the school department.
It can be, or honestly, it's just the police department and the other communities wouldn't prioritize putting dedicated resources in the school. Our community does.
Yes.
And, I appreciate that. I think also Dan and Ashley each kind of work with two of the elementary schools.
Yep.
So there's some continuity, that if there ever is an SRO presence needed at an elementary school, they already have that relationship with the admin and the staff in those buildings, and you don't see that in every district, so.
Right.
That has been a big thing for us.
And I'll tell you, the kids ask her regularly when she's getting a dog. She has, they do, she answers it quite a bit, so in her defense, she does have two young ones and her own dog at home, so there will not be a McCarthy dog coming anytime soon.
It's a big commitment.
It sure is.
It is.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys, appreciate it.
Thank you. Take care.
Appreciate you coming in.
All right, second topic for us tonight is to start our work on the school department's capital planning for fiscal '25. So Dennis is the representative on the school committee who'll be attending the capital committee meetings as we take a look at this. And the process is the same this year as it has been previously, where this fall, we'll start to review school department-related capital projects. Ultimately, the town capital committee will recommend projects. We had always been around $3 million, but just because of need, it's actually been creeping up over the last couple of years, and I could see it creeping up again this year. But the capital committee takes a look at all departments, so schools, police, fire, all the different departments, and ultimately puts forward a list of projects to be recommended for funding, and that goes at April town meeting. And then April town meeting, if the projects are approved, obviously, we then go ahead and plan to conduct the projects. So what I provided for you tonight, I just gave you a hard copy in case it's easier for you to look at now, is a packet with a one-page memo from me dated November 10th. We'll come back to that in a minute. The second page was a memo that I had sent to John Souza based off of the school department's prior capital plan. And then the first little packet of information with the paper clips are all the individual, what they call project detail sheets. They just detail the different projects. And then the last handout, which is in, it's about 4 or 5 pages, and the first one has a couple of red marks on it, is our capital plan for fiscal '25 through '28. And if you recall, this is like years 7, 8, 9, and 10 of the original Dore and Whittier capital plan that they helped us put together in 2015, 16, 17, along that timeline. So we typically, this is what we've been using to track all the different recommended school department projects. And on the particular sheet, that last sheet that has the 3 grids that have red lines in them, if you look in the column that says fiscal '25, those were the projects that we're earmarked previously to have in consideration for this coming year. The first 3 projects, which I just colored in red lettering, were projects that were on previous years, but they were deferred. So they got recommended to the capital committee, but they didn't make the cut. So we just kind of tracked them. So the first one, as an example, was the McCarthy elevator. It had originally been recommended in '22, '23, '24, so it's been like deferred for 3 years. We had the CHS art classroom renovation, and then the Parker elevator, all deferred. Those are really only the 3 projects we're carrying as deferred from prior years. And then there's 3 lines that are totally redded out, kind of blocked out. Those were on the list in '25 to be recommended, but in 2 of the instances, we've actually already completed them just internally, so there's no need to request them. We did the Parker stairway renovations last year. We accelerated that when we were doing the realignment. And then Bill Silver and the tech group has actually been, what do you call it, kind of wrapping the computer cabling in the schools as they do different upgrades, so that wasn't necessary. And we really jump-started the project during COVID, where we outfitted the classrooms with all the interactive TVs. So the $75,000 really isn't necessary right now. So I did not include them on the list. I recommend removing them from the list for fiscal '25. It's not even necessarily that we need to defer them. Eventually, at some point in time, yes, we're gonna need to make an investment in the technology piece with the ClearTouch machines, but we can carry that year to year. It's not really necessary to go on this. So I had to send information over to John Souza, the town treasurer, to get kind of rolling. So what I did on the second page, your memo that was from me to John Souza dated November 1st, I excluded the three blocked-out projects because, again, I really just don't think they're necessary. I took all of the other projects we have and just in order submitted them, and that totaled up to 3.3 million. He needed that to get the ball rolling, to get the project work happening. And then the town's capital committee schedule came out, and they were actually having their first meeting this Thursday night. But that's some of the smaller departments in the town. The school department won't present until the second meeting, which is Thursday, the 30th. It's the week after Thanksgiving. So between either tonight and next Tuesday's meeting, because we meet again next Tuesday, we have to go through the list and prioritize what our priority projects would be to present to the capital committee, because it just helps them in their deliberations know kind of where our heads are at as far as if there's limited money, we can't fund everything, what would we want to try to fund over something else? Like what's most important to us? So what I did on the first page of the sheet, which was the memo from me to you dated November 10th, I just listed my own kind of priority on the projects that were remaining that totaled up to the 3.3 million. I can walk you quickly through like my rationale that I used, and then ultimately, we need to decide that because you may agree, you may disagree, we can talk it out. But either like tonight, if we ever reached agreement, that's fine. We can finalize this and we can just then send that off to John and the capital committee. If it's something we need to take more time on, we can, think about it further, deliberate, and then come back next Tuesday and do the prioritization then, because we don't present until after Thanksgiving anyway, so we do have time next Tuesday to do it. But I just wanted to kind of give you all the information and at least lay it out so you would know what we're dealing with. So I'll stop there and kind of answer any questions, or if you want me to walk you through my rationale, I'm happy to. If you don't want to hear my rationale, that's fine too, but I don't know how you kind of want to proceed. If you just even have any questions on the information that I presented to you.
I'm going to make an executive decision,
Good, what?
an executive decision.
You
I would
want-
make one, yeah.
Oh, make one, go ahead.
Yeah, and I would like you to walk us through and just explain each one of these things, so
Okay.
that way we're all on the same page about what your intention is. Is that
Okay.
okay? Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right. So of the 9 projects that add up to the 3.3 million, I think we can all agree to remove the 3 that we don't necessarily need. So assuming that everyone agrees on that. We have talked a little bit about the McCarthy entryway and actually kind of revamping that. We had the security review as well. We're going to be meeting with them in executive session before the next meeting. But that is one of the projects where we really want to refocus that entryway, add kind of a security vestibule similar to what we have at the high school to control the point of access and the point of entry to that building. So I view that as our top priority. We've actually been working with a kind of a project manager to help us kind of develop a scope to ultimately, if it's approved, go out to bid. So again, I just saw that as kind of my number one priority in doing this. I then always, in the back of my mind, think about what projects have we deferred in prior years because we thought they were important a couple of years back, and if they've been deferred 1 or 2 times, how do they actually kind of gist in the current projects? So I looked at the Chelmsford High School art classroom renovation being deferred in '24 and thought maybe that should be number 2. We do, and again, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking we do spend a lot of money in different segments of the district on different populations. We spend a lot on athletics and supporting our student athletes. We spend a lot on like our band and music programs, supporting our musicians in the district. And I saw that as a way to also support our students who really are accelerating and excel in the arts. So that's why I had voted that, or kind of recommended that as a second priority. A third priority was this, if you know South Row School, this is a project that's been on the capital list for quite some time. South Row has a very odd, very old ceiling structure within the building where they have these old 1-by-1 tiles. It's a very funky kind of grid. And, over time, they've actually tried to put like insulation behind it, which has actually kind of made some of the tiles not as structurally all together. Tiles do drop from time to time. They're not wicked heavy, so they're not like necessarily hurting people, but we don't want the ceiling tiles to be dropping on staff or students as they're in the school. And so this has been a project that South Row I know has wanted to do for a long time. The lighting is not great. This would include basically removing those old tiles, adding a new, like a drop ceiling grid, updating the lighting to like regular lighting. So I had that as a third highest priority.
I'm sorry, weren't you hit by one of those tiles?
Not personally. I was present when one fell, but it didn't actually hit me.
Okay, so
I think I would have survived, but certainly would have dirtied my clothes. Fourth project I had was the, whatever we end up doing with the renovation replacement of the tennis courts at McCarthy Middle School. On that one as well, the company, just as way background, the company Kessel Booz, who's doing the tennis courts at the high school, we contracted with them separately to help us come up with some conceptual designs of what that space could be, take a look at what the work of the group did. So I'll be talking to them again next week for an update. They came out and took all the measurements and visuals and things like that. So they're working through some different concepts right now. To come up with a price on that project, Christine Clancy from DPD was helpful. She, because it really doesn't matter like what goes there, it's gonna be an asphalt underlay, whether it's tennis courts or pickleball courts or basketball courts or whatever. So we know what the asphalt would cost, so she helped us actually build it back into a number for that. We had originally been projecting like $250,000, but obviously with cost of construction, materials, whatnot, things have gone up, so I think that 430 is a more realistic number. And again, we'll be working with Kessel Booz on that front.
Was the design work already paid for?
We're just doing that internally. It was like $6,000 or $7,000. It wasn't significant. We're just carrying that within our own budget, just to get the project moving along. Because the other thing is this, part of the problem with our capital projects is you have to wait till they get funded in, say, April. And then if you actually want to go and do the work, you then have to get an architect or someone on board. You have to put all the specs together to then go out to bid. And those projects are kind of timely. So if we actually had a design, we had a project ready to go, it get approved in April, we might be able to turn around a spec and a bid quickly enough to say, get that work to be done maybe towards the end of the summer or fall, as opposed to having waiting a whole year to do it. So for relatively short money, I just thought it made sense to already kind of jumpstart that. So I've already jumpstarted the McCarthy lobby, and the tennis court project. On the tennis, just as an FYI, on the tennis court project, at the high school, when we were doing that one, we actually, just to try to save some money and save some time, DPW last winter, if you recall, was very mild. The street department had time in the winter to actually do some work. So they started doing the demolition of the existing site. So we had to keep the tennis courts because the high school team plays there, but the floor hockey and the basketball were really in unplayable condition. So they came in behind the tennis courts and actually took up all the fence and took up all the old, not cement, the kind of the pavement that was there, which is gonna really cut down on the project cost and just make things go a little bit quicker. In talking to Christine, if we happen to have a mild winter again this year and there's some time, the tennis courts are unplayable at McCarthy right now. They're gonna go in and actually just take down the fence and remove all of the hot top asphalt there and basically just level the ground and leave it just level dirt, grassy dirt, until we can actually figure out what's gonna go there. So you may see some activity, weather dependent, and if the guys have time in their schedule to just get that done, it's only gonna help scheduling wise and cost wise, ultimately when the project gets awarded. So that can happen even if we don't have a final designer agreement. I don't want people to get nervous saying, oh, it's coming down, and all of a sudden you must kind of know what's going there. We don't, but we know that they're not playable right now, so we may as well take advantage of the town staff when they can to kind of jumpstart that project. My fifth one I just had was the McCarthy elevator. I think we know that the McCarthy's gonna stay online as a school at some point. You'll also see number 9 was the Parker elevator. The reason I didn't rank the elevators higher is Parker, I'm hoping obviously will eventually do a new school. And I don't know that it would, the elevator's there, it is being serviced, it's functional. If we got the nod to potentially do a new school, I would say we probably just keep servicing the elevator that's there. We don't put a new elevator that's gonna have a 30-year life in it. And that's why I rated that one low. The only reason I didn't rate the McCarthy elevator a little bit higher, and it had been deferred for 3 years, is it is still being maintained, so it's still functional, it's not broken down. And we actually have 3 or 4 elevators that were approved last year in the capital plan that DPW is still trying to get a contractor on board to basically assess, put a whole spec together to go out to bid for them. So at best, those are probably gonna get worked on this summer or even going into the fall. It's unrealistic that we'd be able to add another elevator to it, so we're looking at a year out anyway. That's why I didn't rate the McCarthy elevator quite as high. And then projects,
Excuse me.
yeah.
Sorry. So they just serviced the McCarthy elevator, correct?
I happened to be there Friday because it was a day off and I was trying to get a couple things done and the elevator repair guys were in there. So they were doing their annual service to the elevator.
There was nothing, did they say, oh, there's some glaring issues here that?
It's vintage. It's a vintage elevator, but it still works.
Yeah, okay.
And no, so they're still servicing all of our elevators. They're inspected annually. They get their regular services. The hard part is if any of these older elevators does happen to go down, it's not like there's parts sitting on a shelf where you can just go get. Some of these manufacturers aren't even around anymore, and it's very difficult to get. But the ones we have are well serviced. They are well maintained. And again, I just think it's not practical to think that even if this got funded this April, we'd be able to do it this summer because we're behind already on the other elevators that were already approved. So that was my only rationale for that. And then 6, 7, and 8, just to me, just weren't quite as high of a priority. 6 and 7 both just relate to adding some outdoor air, some additional air into the teacher's room and the admin office at the school. The air handler that brings in like fresh air from the outside, they're just, and there's pictures of them in the thing, they're just very outdated. And like today's code would call for more air coming in from the outside. But again, functional, it's just not, optimal for the space. And then last was 8. This was what I was talking about earlier. This is something DPW would probably do. It would just be more of like a product we'd have to procure, would be to potentially add some additional parking spaces in front of McCarthy and cut off a little bit of the island so that we can have like 2 dedicated traffic lines. Whoever happens to go left is just always stuck in traffic because there's no one there to kind of help them get out. It's much easier to take a right going out. If you were ever to force everyone to go right, we just have to have a traffic study done to see like what that would actually do to the others. But Christine had just mentioned that, that is a project that they could probably tackle at some point for relatively minimal cost. The curb is already a granite curb that's there. You'd basically just remove the curb. You'd cut in, say, like 15 feet into the grass, put the curb back. You'd only have to add the curb on the corners and add some curb cuts and around the bend. So 150, I think, is reasonable for that. That was a number that she had provided to us. It wouldn't be like $1 million project, and it would be something like DPW could probably help us do if they had some downtime.
And if you add parking spots to that middle island, it probably alleviates a little bit of the parking for the police station too.
Well, it does. That's what we were thinking, because you can almost add almost 30 spots there.
Right,
And
this
it's
is-
much easier to walk from there to the police than it is even from the back.
Yep.
So that might actually take a little bit of the need for some extra parking around the back of the new area McCarthy tennis courts out of the equation, if we can have that. But, and then I obviously mentioned Parker Elevator. Would love to do it, but if we potentially could get a new building, I don't want to put the money into doing that, and we are still functional. So again, that's just my rationale that I used to kind of get us started and get the ball rolling. Obviously open to whatever you guys can decide, but I just wanted to share that with you. And again, we can decide tonight. We technically could decide next Tuesday if you're uncomfortable or want more time. And then this ultimately does get recommended off to the planning committee, and it has to get kind of weighted in all the different projects that the town is looking at, and the list is getting pretty long. It just helps them to know like what are our top, like, kind of 1 to 5 projects that we really want to try to get funded if we can.
So why don't we start with this? Does anybody have any questions, or do they want to discuss any of these items tonight?
Nothing specifically. I was going to say, I think the list is good as is. I feel like this is the list we've been working on for a long time. We've been deferring things. I mean, the order's fine. I mean, every year, we're just gonna pick our 9 or 10 projects we can get done. And I generally trust the administration to kind of figure out what needs to get done.
So next week, we have the walkthrough, right? The schools, we're gonna go through the security. When is that?
So we're going to have executive session before the school committee meeting at
Okay.
6. So we'll have a meeting at 5.
Okay.
And so the group will just come and actually kind of just talk in larger, higher level
Okay.
terms about like the review and recommendations. And so obviously there's some recommendations that also have to be phased over the next number of years. They're not just going to be like 1-year type things.
Okay.
But they'll give you their synopsis of the review.
Okay, so we would not be considering anything in this capital budget that we might need for improvements or anything?
I think the big one is, like, the one glaring one that had been identified even previously was the McCarthy lobby. I would personally, I mean, there are some too much smaller scale, other things similar to that that can be done at the other schools. I would almost like to see, use the McCarthy as, like the project to actually have like the specifications prepared to actually, do it and get the work completed so that we can see, what worked well. Did we miss something? Did we have to do a change order because we forgot we needed to add, something or something was gonna work better? Almost use that as like the test school. to-
Prototype?
Like, kind of, to do like as the first one. And then from that, if you think about it, like our other schools, like say Byham and Harrington, South Row Center, they're much smaller. We're gonna run into less issues in those particular buildings. And I think they're gonna be easier and much quicker to actually put a spec together, to go out to bid. And those particular projects aren't gonna involve the detail that McCarthy is gonna involve. I think they can be done much quicker. I also try to be like realistic, even like this 3.3 million in the scheme of like what else the town has too. All of this probably isn't gonna get funded. We probably also, like whenever it doesn't get funded, I take a look at the projects that are left. And when we do our one-time recommendations for money in the springtime, sometimes I'll bring you like a project and I'll say, this didn't get funded by capital, but I think we can actually, like the science labs at McCarthy, we did ourselves. We could potentially do that. I think the other, like I mentioned, the other elementary schools, even for the security aspect, are much smaller in scope. We might be able to use our money if we want to really accelerate some of those projects to be done. But we kind of have to get one design, one set of specs done to know what we're dealing with before we go full bore with the other schools.
Do you have any other questions? Dennis?
For the most part, I like this. I would prefer to see the McCarthy elevator bumped up, only because we've been deferring it since '22. And as you said, it's vintage. The last thing I would want to see is that breakdown in students that need an elevator, whether they're wheelchair bound or even staff members, that they wouldn't have that access. So I'd like to see that go a little higher in the list, than it is right now. Even if it's gonna, even if we can't get it done, at least now it's on the list. It's being funded. So I'd like to see that move up maybe to number 2, and then for the most part, the rest of the list seems pretty reasonable. If we weren't doing a new Parker, I would have that one up higher too, but, well, hopefully, not good doing a new Parker. But I would like to see the McCarthy elevator, because we've deferred it since '22, and we're not talking until 25, 26, but we can actually do something with it.
So you want to go to 2 or 3?
I would do it 2, but,
And then everything just bumps down after that?
yeah, I know South Road, I've walked through South Road, that needs to get done.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is nasty.
And I've only been there a few times, and
Yeah, I am too.
it's very noticeable when you're.
Otherwise, we're going to be issuing hard hats.
And I think cost-wise, it's not really high, but putting new ceilings in makes the building look new.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think it's gonna make it look.
Yeah, just from
Right,
appearance, we walk through and,
Bright, it'll be bright, the lights will be better.
So do you want to keep, like, for example, would you like to move South Row up to then 3? And the art room's down to 4? Does it
I
not
would,
really
that's,
matter?
that's how I have it on my list right now. I had it that way,
The only thing I'm super stuck on is the open space. I just want that up there, not off the
Yep.
list.
Well, you worked a long time on that.
Yeah.
So I think, so 1 through 5, and then just kind of reordering it, correct? Right.
Yeah, basically, yeah, because 6, 7, 8, 9 makes sense. I mean.
Right.
Um,
So 1 is the lobby, then you would like to see 2
I'd like to see the 2 as the elevator.
elevator, 3 South Row,
4,
4 the art rooms.
5 the open.
Do you want to flip South Row in the art rooms?
I do think those tiles have to be replaced.
Yeah, what Donna said, I agree with. I say 1 is 1. 2 is, I think, the elevator, 3, the South Row, and then 4, the art rooms. And then 5 stays as the,
5's the tennis courts?
yeah.
I'm actually, I really want to get those art rooms done, but I also agree with you. There's been a lot of work that's been put into the tennis courts by the committee that met a couple summers ago. We've been waiting on this for a long time, so I could even live with that going above the art rooms. And then,
Also cherish the art rooms. It's kind of a hard choice, but I think open space is rare. And we have opportunities right now to do that kind of work. We should do it. But I do think the art room is important.
absolutely. right? And the other thing too is we have been hearing from the community too, that they are looking for more resources like pickleball courts and things like that, so.
Lucky they didn't let me architect it.
All right, so those are some suggestions that we're making for tonight. I guess my question for you is this: do you want some time to think about it? I know you were talking about, the safety audit. Did you want to hear from them first before, we finalize this?
Well, I think the thinking seems to be that, you want to get a spec first and so on.
Yep.
Then probably it's not going to change the thinking.
Oh.
I don't know.
So what are you thinking? Like, would you like to wait till next?
You know what I think, Donna? I think we
Yes.
should find how many millions? And then we should get them all done at the same time, no? But we can't.
I wish.
So,
Yeah.
I think that reprioritizing that you're speaking of in terms of 1 to 5, I would also love to see that. I mean, I've been in that elevator. It's pretty awful. And it's gonna have to, at some point, there aren't gonna be any more parts. So, yeah, it sounds to me like we should reprioritize that. Of course, I would love the kids in the art rooms to also have wonderful new art rooms.
I agree.
So,
And I think if we can,
but that,
emphasize those first 5, Dennis, when you're meeting with them, and the rationale behind them, get as much as we can, and then, I don't know.
I'm no Jeff Doherty, but I'll do my best.
Go ahead. You're thinking.
So if we do this reorg now, we agree on McCarthy 1, if the elevator from McCarthy goes to 2, I would leave we got the South Row thing at 3, the ceilings.
Yeah.
I'd leave the art rooms at 4 and the tennis courts at 5 for a couple of reasons. One, in the grand scheme of things, when we're looking at these projects, obviously, we want as many of these to get done as possible. I think we can make a compelling argument that the tennis court open space here at McCarthy is not only going to benefit the schools, right? Because we're going to have a benefit during the day, but it really does benefit the town.
Right.
And, my concern is that if, like, in the back of my mind, I know, like, we're probably not going to get all 9, so, like, there's a limited amount of money, that it would be easier to, I don't know if I'm saying this right, but it'd be easier to cut one project over another one and say, are we going to get to this point without this one? I think if we want to try to get to the other one that's going to benefit more, the art room is really going to directly benefit the kids at the high school, and it's really a school benefit. I think we can make a compelling argument to get that done and to get to the
I
public,
see what you're saying, yeah. No.
if that makes sense.
This is,
does.
tennis courts is more of a town-wide thing even than a school thing.
Is there any, for this particular project, have we talked about community preservation money? Is that on, anything on the table?
Yeah, and I mean, Paul has said too, like, when we do have the final designs, we have to kind of put this whole thing together. CPC could potentially be on the table. That could potentially also be on the table if we did, like, say, the plateau when we ever get to that point. So those things are possible.
Okay, because if I'm not mistaken, in some of the design that you were talking about, it wasn't just the courts, but it was just, it was like some, walking paths and, there was a lot, it was, it was really involved, so.
Yeah.
There's a picnic
Can you
area.
live with that going to 5 and then making an argument? Okay, you sure?
Yeah, I think it'll make it, so yeah.
Okay, all right, so let's.
I can make a pretty firm argument on that space.
Well, yeah, and as I said, though, we had a group of community members that were really invested in trying to make that into a nice spot that would meet a lot of needs for the
Yeah.
community. So I think you're right. I think we can make a compelling argument for why that should happen. It is not just going to benefit the schools. So. All right, so that being said, do people want to vote tonight, or do you want to kind of let it settle and get more information and do a little research, or is everybody okay?
I'm okay with it.
I think we
Okay,
should,
well, I think that's, do
All right, then I'll take a motion.
we need a motion? To vote on it?
I do think you should vote
Okay,
to
right.
just submit your prioritized list,
Yep.
because that'll hopefully carry some weight when it goes to the committee. And then at least you have a document you're working off of.
Right, I make a motion to approve the new reprioritized list as presented tonight.
I second.
Right. Is this a roll call vote because it's money?
I don't think you have to, because they're not really like appropriating money,
Right.
it's just more projects.
All right, thank you. Just want to make sure I was doing this right. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
4-0 in favor. Thank you.
Okay, so just as a next step, so I'll get this revised in the morning, I'll send it off to John, he'll send it out to the committee. Thursday night is their first meeting. I'll either attend or watch, just so that we can kind of see what comes up that night, and then we'll present ours on the 30th. And then I'll report back probably the first meeting in December with the results. Great. Thank you.
All right.
Yes, and thank you, Dennis, for doing that.
I'm glad it worked out that they bumped it out 1 week for you.
Okay.
Third item on the agenda for me tonight is just the personnel report for the month of October. Not too much activity, just a few new hires. We had some new, couple of paraprofessionals and some lunch and recess aides to the school, as well as, I believe you've all met her by now, Jennifer Omeg is our new communications director. She's been doing a really nice job of writing some stories. There was a story about the Chelmsfordopoly and the whole Sea Farm fundraiser. She did a nice job on the Project 300 article. She has already made inroads with the Lowell Sun. I know they posted a couple of our articles, so she's really making some headway. Doing a little bit of work also on the website with some different updates and things.
Calendar looks fantastic.
Yeah,
Everybody's had a
so
chance to look at it,
it's
but
coming along.
I found a lot of really good information on there. I stopped by and thanked her.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, because there's, and I know that, it would probably be helpful for people to get information to her, but I saw a lot of PTO meetings posted on there, the Council of Schools.
Yeah, she's
you know.
reaching out. So
Yeah.
she's
It was
proactively
really
reaching out to the
terrific. It
different
was
groups, making
fantastic.
contacts. People have been very good about sending her stories, so that's been positive.
And we probably got a notification, notice a world language chair
Yes.
designed.
Yes.
What are we gonna try to fill that position? Are we gonna?
Yeah, so Linda's our new world language coordinator.
Great, I had my department meetings.
Yeah, so right now, Linda is actually going to kind of survey and see, this is a difficult time of year to be hiring
Right.
those kind of positions, just to kind of survey and see if there is any interest, even on a part-time basis, someone coming in to kind of just help us through the course of this year, and we're going to reevaluate it in the whole scope of the budget for next year.
Okay, will it have any impact on like any exchange programs or anything that we have?
No, we're really up and well-run for this year, so we're fine on that front. We're just kind of thinking about what implications could be, say, like a year from now. But our group already came, the French group, correct?
No, Spanish. And
Spanish.
then our kids are going in the winter.
Yeah.
And then next year should be for the French exchange, because we were thinking of doing every other year, so we'd have enough students and interest, and also not put a burden on the families that their students would want to go multiple times during their high school time year. So
Yeah.
we are in good shape, and then they're going to Argentina through the after-school program in April as well.
And our teachers had already been identified who are going to be traveling with the kids to Spain for the year, so we're fine on that front. So, but we'll report back more as we know. Great. And the last for me is just, we always share the Valley Collaborative. As you know, Valley is our partner district, or our partner collaborative. So they've shared with us their newsletter detailing all the different activities that Valley had going on over the course of the summer and fall. So I just share that with you as well. It's a really good group. We've got a lot of students who attend Valley Collaborative, and they're very well served by the programming. And that's all I have for the night.
All right, thank you. Do we have any liaison reports?
Liaisons?
Yeah,
Yes. So I attended the McCarthy PTO meeting last night, and they ran their recycle day, which went extremely well. Excuse me. They also have, their budgets right now look really good, and their bottom lines look really good, so they're talking a lot about what enrichment programs to run and when and so on. And they seem to have had some very good discussions between the schools and what's going on between the two teams. It is one group, but they are at each school. At Parker, they had the library, the book sale, and during the pumpkin
The pumpkin car, yeah,
what do they call it, in the courtyard?
pumpkins and,
Pizza,
and
paper bags.
Thank you.
yes.
And they realized some things, like some of the kids were not used to doing the pumpkins and so on, so next year, it's gonna be a lot bigger than what it was this year. But the book sale went extremely well.
did.
And the gathering of the parents. So there have been a lot of really good things at both schools. I had to miss Centers because of the Cape and the conference. And today, there was another meeting for wellness, and the focus this year for wellness is all on the wellness fair day. They're going to have one big day at the high school for wellness vendors and people from the community who will have tables and booths and so on that are interactive about wellness. If you have any ideas of any vendors we can approach, just let me know.
Actually, they've been terrific. They already reached out to me to get in touch with someone from the Appalachian Mountain Club, so I know that they're
They're
really,
working on it.
they're already working on it, absolutely.
Yes.
And it's in March.
So that's what's going on.
Right, Dennis?
I have a couple. Alumni Association met a couple weeks ago. They had a very successful Hall of Fame event. They had to do some scrambling because of the low conference center, but they pulled it off and they did a nice job with that. The Alumni Association scholarship application should be available starting at the beginning of December. They're working on making the application process a little bit easier electronically. And they are looking to do actual face-to-face awards this year. They haven't done it since before COVID, and they really want to get back to it this year. So they're planning to do that, I think, next May, April or May, with all the scholarships. In terms of CPAC, I had an email from Lori McCarron, who is very involved in CPACs at the state level, just to let us know that Governor Healy signed a proclamation for November 2023 to be CPAC Awareness Month in Massachusetts. It's the 5th consecutive year that it's been CPAC Awareness Month in Massachusetts. CPACs throughout Mass are celebrating with the color yellow to help spread awareness, and 4 bridges in Mass were lit up yellow on November 1st to commemorate CPAC Awareness Month. There's a Zachem Bridge, Longfellow, Burns, and 4 river bridges. And that's, I have a few more, unless Don, I don't want to steal Donna's thunder, so I'm gonna.
No, I just have 2 updates, but it involves all of us.
Yep.
The one was first, I want to talk a little bit about the working session that we had
Wonderful.
with Representative Cataldo, Representative Arciero, and Representative Elliott, which I thought went well. I thought it was an excellent presentation.
Thank you.
I know that we reached out to them afterwards, thanking them for their participation. I don't know if we had heard anything from them since about their efforts around writing a letter to the school building authority.
I have not. We did hear afterward that it would be helpful if they had kind of some talking points, so I just drafted like a kind of a shell of a letter with the different points and sent that off to them and their staffs. Couple of emails back just saying thank you, but I haven't had any further contact since then.
Did anybody have anything they wanted to add about that particular event? Dennis, anything?
No, just, I mean, for people that weren't aware, we had all 3 state reps came and met with us, roundtable discussion about our capital needs in the short term and long term. They were very receptive. They're gonna do what they can to kind of put a bug in people's ear to hopefully help us out with them, but we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully we learn something in another month or so.
I think, oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, a couple of days after I did speak with one of the representatives, and what he told me was that he has already started putting the bug in some ears and was able to have a couple of meaningful conversations, and that what was presented was well done, and he became much more aware of what our needs are.
I was going to say, I think if nothing else, we had them all in one room at the same time to hear one message around, information about the district and what our goals are moving forward. And I think that was really nice to be able to do that for a change.
Yeah, because again, from the outside, you look and we look like we're in great shape. We are. We do a good job of what we have, but we know that there's things coming down the pipe that other people don't realize. So.
Right.
I thought it was helpful, again, to have them all together, but even just to touch on, like enrollment, struggles, some potential like new growth coming, how we're already kind of maxed out, because a lot of people do think, even though we built the module to say at the elementary schools a few years back, we should be okay. But, we've been continuing to grow, and the trajectory over the next 5 to 10 years is more kids coming. For the December meeting, I'll have the October 1 Sims report will be finalized. But we're looking to be up about 75 students, just district-wide this year. I mean, that's a significant number, and I think that's going to continue. So I think it was good for them to hear that message, all of their communities increasing enrollment, and how that really ties to our building needs. So I thought it was a very good discussion. Hopefully they, like I said, if nothing else, they got all the information. It was in one place, and they're kind of armed now if they're having conversations with people.
Right, and then the second thing that I wanted to mention to viewers at home is that we attended the MASC and
MASS.
MASS.
Joint conference.
What's that? Joint conference,
Joint
yes.
conference.
In Hyannis last week. And on Wednesday, our school committee presented a workshop on our experiences with diversity, equity, and inclusion training with the IDEAS group. And I want to say that I thought it went really well. I think we had, good attendance for that, especially being right out of the gate, one of the first workshops right up. People still coming in and registering, and I thought, there was a lot of good questions too, I think. And I almost wish we could have gone longer, because I feel like we would have had time to even have more discussion around some of the questions that were being asked of us about our experiences, and also to hear from other school committees about some of their experiences or struggles with finding a united way to kind of move the whole concept of DEI forward in their districts. So I thought it was great. Everybody did a terrific job. There was a little filibustering going on, but, other than that.
Wasn't the usual suspects, though.
It was me.
And it sounds like, from what you were saying, I had to scoot right out, but the feedback was very positive.
No, there was a good mix in the room of kind of superintendents, assistant superintendents, school committee members. And, the handful that I spoke with after really just appreciated hearing the story. Their committees are all in different places, and I think to just kind of have a real life, hear about a real life experience, and, doesn't always go well. There are different things you have to kind of stop and readjust, I think was good for them to hear. So they definitely appreciated it.
So thank you, everybody, for making the time and Dr. Hirsch, you really did deserve that opportunity, because you were very instrumental in putting the whole thing together for us.
Yes. She certainly was.
Donna, thank you for volunteering us. Don't do it again.
I feel like we can check that off of our list of
to-dos.
things that we can say that we've done. And I will say, it came to my attention that we actually started off the whole process with a book group,
Yes.
right? And I completely forgot about
Yeah,
that.
I thought about that after, but
Yeah.
I wanted to.
I didn't bring it up because I know that there's been an investigation into his whole center and so on. I said, I'm not bringing this thing up. But one thing it did honestly do, Donna, that I want to commend you on is I think that it makes us realize ourselves where we're at. And that we've done quite a bit of work, which is really great. It feels gratifying to know that, and to know that it's not the end, it's just a beginning, and it continues. So for that, I will commend you, and then I will echo.
And I do think you forgot to talk about day 2 and what role you had the
Terrifying.
second day.
And I first of all, I want to publicly thank John Moses for coming right up to the front.
Yes.
It was in the grand ballroom. How many people do you think were there?
About like 7,500, something like that. It was pretty good. It's like 1 million. It was
I
a
was
lot.
so nervous. But there was a keynote speaker. Her name was Darissa Amante Jackson. She was very good. She was excellent. And more on, the role of school committees in diversity, equity, and inclusion, and belonging as well. And I sat on a panel with Dr. Linus Gilroy, who is the superintendent for Brookline, the keynote speaker, and Secretary Patrick Tutwiler. And God bless John, because he came right up to the front, and when they said my name, he yelled, "We love you, Donna," making everyone in the room believe, okay.
That she had a fan club.
Right, that I had a fan
Like,
club.
we love your daughter.
Yeah, exactly. So, it was fantastic. They calmed me right down, and he became my focal point for the rest of the meeting because I was scared out of my wits.
You did a great job. Just to say though, even if you were nervous, it didn't come across that way.
Well, thank you.
Came across great.
So it was another good opportunity, I think, for Chelmsford School Committee to be represented in that particular forum. And I can promise you, I will not do it again. But thank you, everybody, for that. All right, unless we have any action items?
I just had one quick thing.
Yes.
If anybody were interested, either staff, student, or otherwise teacher, there is a veterans event on Thursday, the 16th from 9:20, whatever that block is, 9:27 to 10:30. It's going to be veterans, both have graduated from the school. It'll be people like Dr. Parks, myself, Becky Tyros. Like, there's just going to be a ton of veterans there. We're going to be speaking to high school kids that are going to be joining the service, talking about some of the ups and downs, giving like real world practical advice, not the stuff you hear from the recruiters, but it is that, whatever that block is at the beginning.
Plus
of
block.
The plus block at the beginning of the day in the Career Center. Career Center, yeah.
Thank you for doing that.
I do it every year. It's my favorite event.
Did you have some action items?
No, I'm just gonna double check what time on the executive session next?
5.
Five.
Just an hour before the meeting, so
Okay.
5.
Next Tuesday?
Yes, next Tuesday.
That'll be the safety report. All right, anything else? All right, do we have any public comments? Any emails to be read in? Okay, none? Then with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I second that motion.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
4-0.
Second.
In favor.